Hi gentlemen, and welcome to the Yoga for BJJ Over 40 program. I realized since we installed intercom on the website that many of you are starting BJJ after you're 30, and some of you even start training jiu-jitsu after 40 or after 50, which is absolutely amazing, but with of course the cost that injuries takes a long time to heal, and our joints and muscles aren't really getting younger by themselves, so we need gentle, soft movements repetitively to maintain, maintenance on our body. We have to do a lot of maintenance on our body. So we can't just, we don't have nipples on our joints where we can just insert some lubricants. We actually need movement every day in order to stay young in our joints. So we will do a lot of nice gentle movements together, nothing hard. If you want something hard, you can go to the other programs. So we will just do a lot of warm-up style exercises, not focusing so much on exact technique or increasing anything, just regular maintenance of our body. Okay? Grab your belt and lay down on your back. We start with placing the belt around our right foot, and instead of like in the other videos and the other programs, we're gonna do this one not static but dynamic. So start by medium circles with your leg. So go one direction, about 2 to 3 seconds for one complete circle. One of the things, I'm going to repeat this throughout this series, one of the things that we guys have that are getting older compared to the young guys, we have one crucial ingredient that is almost exclusively for older guys, and that is patience. You don't find many middle-aged or older people who are very impatient. That's more for the young kids. They have no experience, so they are impatient. But try to use that as much as you can when you practice yoga. In jiu-jitsu, you probably have a completely different game from the other kids. Switch feet, so left foot up, right leg down. Go in one direction. So the young guys probably have a completely different game than you. I'm assuming that your game is more patience-based, more pressure, more hydraulics, leverage, and precision rather than lots of reps, lots of speed, and feinting and stuff like that. So I want you to practice yoga the same way that you roll and spar and fight. Slowly and deliberately. Nice. Switch legs again, go back to the first leg and go in the opposite direction. So you can start going in the natural direction and then you switch. And you might go in bigger circles too here if you want. As long as you're not falling from side to side. Actually try to take the leg as far as you can without tilting over so that one hip lifts off the floor. Try to keep both hips in the floor and do big circles. Switch legs again, left foot up. Go the opposite direction of what feels natural. And make big circles without lifting your right or left hip off the floor. Try to keep your legs straight and only go so far as that you can keep your legs straight. That's not, the only reason I want you to keep your legs straight is to have one less parameter. You only want one kind of movement. You don't want to combine the bending the knee with a circle. It makes it much easier for your body to adapt when fewer things are going on. All right, release the belt down and place your feet in the floor. You can interlace your hands behind your head if that feels perfect for you, and then windshield wipers from side to side. Take at least 2 to 3 seconds to switch sides. So you can stay with your knees down for 2 seconds, and you can use 3 seconds to switch over to the other side. If you were to explain what yoga is for someone who has never heard about it or never seen anything yoga-like, you could explain them like a very simplistic explanation is the stretch that you do after you stand up. You have been sitting for an hour or two, driving or just at the office. When you stand up, every human being does some kind of stretch. They arch their hips forward, or they side stretch, or they twist. Yoga is just putting those natural counter movements into a system. So instead of just stretching your arms overhead and saying, "Oh, I feel stiff," you do that 10, 15, 20 times, and with different angles, and you breathe at the same time. So it's just a more advanced stretch than the one you do after waking up in the morning, or any kind of sedative, passive, like lack of activity. We call it the down dog and the up dog, those poses we call them, because after a dog has been asleep, it does those 2 poses to stretch out their bodies. So again, that's in order to get someone who has never done yoga before to do 15 repetitions, it's pretty hard, because your natural tendency is to just do 1, and then you feel slightly better after doing 1 stretch. And it takes some discipline and some patience to do it 10, 15, 20 times, because there is a threshold where it doesn't feel nice. It starts feeling you're starting to fatigue, and you start feeling how stiff you actually are. And that's the threshold we need to get over. All right, legs up in the air, and then bicycles without focusing on core strength. So instead of stretching our both legs out at the same time, we try to keep the knees in like this, so the knees meet over the hips. So it's not so much core strength, it's more hip joint mobility. I like to do 2 things at the same time in this specific one. I also pedal my feet, so I get movement in the knees, in the ankles, and in the hips at the same time. If it's too much to bicycle down to the floor, you bicycle straight up instead. So we're basically just working 2 different things in the Yoga for BJJ over 40 program, and that is flexibility and mobility. We try to move the joints in as many directions as possible, and we try to stretch our muscles and our nerves a little bit outside the comfort zone, so the comfort zone grows. All right, legs straight up. You can keep a little bend in the knee. If your feet doesn't come over your hips, then bend your knees so that your feet come over your hip. And then go legs apart and then together. So just repping up and down like this, slowly, not in order to increase our strength in the inner thighs, but more just to get a stretch in the groin and warm up the hips. So instead of counting to 5 or 10, we're probably going to do between 15 and 30 reps in most of the exercises throughout this series. I'm not going to talk about breathing in and breathing out like I do in the other programs, but I want you to do as many reps as it takes to get over the point where you think about what you're doing. The repetitions and the exercises are supposed to be so monotonous, so monotonic, that you stop thinking about what you're doing and you start relaxing instead. Nice. 3 more. And then feet down to the ground, arms overhead, and lift your hips. Take a couple of breaths here and engage your butt muscles. So your hamstrings and your butt are contracting, so your hips are lifting up. And then lower your hips down. Lift your hips and lower the hips. Keep going and keep breathing. Now add on the arms, so when the hips go down, the arms go down, and when the hip goes up, the arms go up. Two more. Pull your knees into your chest. Hug your knees for a couple of seconds. And now start rolling up and down. If it's hard to roll all the way up, then just roll on your lower back. If you can roll up to your butt, you can do that. As long as you're massaging your spine. Let's go for about 15 of these. Five more. Nice. Sit up on your butt and place your feet in front of you, hands behind you, and windshield wipe your knees from side to side again. This is different from when we were laying down on our back, because this is much more for the hips than the spine, because now the spine can move together with the hips, and you can push one knee down a little bit extra to get some juice into the hip joint. And what I like about this one is that we get a nice shoulder stretch as well. When you turn your chest, you get hip and shoulders at the same time. And one thing we can appreciate when we're in our middle age is that after the first 5 to 8 repetitions, that's more just getting into it. And that's when all the teenagers and the 20-somethings, they drop out because they think that they know what is coming. They think that just because they did 5 reps, they know what the next 50 reps are going to be like, and they give up immediately because they want to be excited all the time with new stuff. But what you and me understand that they don't understand is that after you get into it, you can start appreciate the small things. Like, for example, when I roll over my right hip, there is a clunk when I go over the glute medius that feels really good. That does never happen on the left side. So every time I go over the right side, I can really feel that muscle softening up. And I would never feel that the first 5 reps because I'm too busy thinking about how far I should go and how I should breathe. But after you get into the rhythm, when you get into the trance of the movement, you can start to appreciate the subtle things in what we're doing. Nice. Cross your ankles. If your knees are high and your back is round, like mine is now, then you have to sit onto something. So cross your ankles. If you have problems with the ankles, you can place a pillow under the crossing of your ankles. I usually do that when I feel anything going on in my ankles. You can of course also sit towards a wall, so you have a pillow or anything behind you so you're supported. We're going to start by just moving our chest around in a circle. So chest moves towards the knee, and then over to the other knee, and then back up. So around and around we go. This is on my top 3 of all yoga exercises. This is something I do every single day. Every time I sit on a yoga mat, this is my first go-to exercise because it doesn't take any effort. I could probably do 1,000 repetitions of this one. I'm supporting my hands on my knees to release even more pressure of the spine. So normally if you don't use the hands, then the spine have to activate a lot when you go forward. But since I'm using the pressure of my chest and my triceps, my spine learns to relax. And that's when really things start happening in the lumbar spine. Go the other direction. And like I said, the youngsters, they see no point in doing the second direction because they already think they know what's going to happen. But what you will notice here is that when you go the opposite direction, things are different. It feels different coming up on this side than on the other side. And in jiu-jitsu, when you start doing your favorite technique on the left side or the wrong side or the right side, no, let's keep it to on the wrong side, because right and right are two things. When you start doing your favorite technique on the opposite side, you feel that it's a completely different technique. It feels so weird because you're just doing it on one side. But when you actually do that job, you have to put in twice as much to learn it on the other side. You have to double your workload in order to learn the same technique again. But you notice after you did that work, your understanding of your technique on the first side is on a new level. So it's not just like learning a brand new technique. You also upgrade your understanding. You learn something for the first time again, which is paradoxical, but that's exactly what happens in jiu-jitsu when you start doing things on both sides. And I think it's the same here. So try that. Go back to the first direction again, and you probably feel that it feels different doing this now after just half a minute doing the opposite direction. Try to freestyle a little bit, rock from side to side, maybe add on a little bit of looking from side to side. You can speed up, but I recommend slowing down, taking your time, see if you can use your arms to twist a little extra, or maybe go deeper so that your head is closer to the ground. Right, switch the crossing of your legs. Let's do side stretching. On your fingertips, hands out to the side, lift your arm and then bend your bottom arm. So you are supporting yourself with the bottom arm, but you're also releasing a little bit of that pressure in order to stretch your opposite side. Do 1 or 2 breaths on each side. Try to stretch the lat and your whole side body from armpit down to the hips. This is how your car feels when it gets yearly maintenance service done to it. Imagine if you could only ever have one car. When your one car breaks down, you get the car when you're born and you're gonna have it until you're 90 years old. Imagine how good care you would take of that car. You know, if it breaks down, I'm never gonna get a new one. I can't get a bike, I can't get a motorcycle. When this car is done, I'm done. I have to walk everywhere. Imagine how great of a care you would take with that car. You would never dream of fueling it with some cheap ass gasoline in a like the cheapest gasoline. You would take it for service often, and you would make sure if a warning sign started blinking, you would immediately have it checked. So why are we not doing that to our bodies? Well, we are now, but remember that every time you fuel your body with dubious substances, and every time you are seated for more than an hour at length, remember that you only have one car, you only have one body in this life. So take care of it as good as you would if you had a Volvo from 84 or 74. If you want it to last for a lifetime, you actually have to take good care of it. All right, last exercise, all fours, fingers out to the side, wide arms, knees under hips, straight arms all the time, cat and cow. So drop your belly down and look forward, and round your spine and pull your head back towards your hips. Just keep going. Five more. And last one. Sit down on your knees or your butt. Let's finish each of these program videos with 1 minute of just seated meditation, which means do absolutely nothing, just let everything be, and just feel your presence in your own body. and open your eyes. I hope you guys feel better. Tomorrow we're gonna take it further and do lots of other exercises. We're never gonna repeat the exercises we did in the previous video. So this whole week will be filled of new exercises that you can use for good body maintenance. Us.